गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट. गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है. एंड टुडे वी गोइंग टू टॉक ऑफ पिनाका. इट्स द डेडली midfielder in battle. Well, you know, the other day I was going through Twitter and I came across this. It says MOD eyes approval for 1,000 guided Pinaka rockets with 90 kilometers strike range. Well, it unleashed a lot of things in my head, and I'll come to that. I have a long association with Pinaka, and I'll explain that to you and how this has come about. People think everything happens in a jiffy. It doesn't, and it takes a lot of investment and time to make this a success. You know, I, and I just browsed the net to see that there are a lot of people who want this weapon system, including Armenia, France, Spain, a lot of these Southeast Asian countries, right? And I said, yeah, it's time I discussed it. Day before yesterday, I spoke of BrahMos 800. Today, we'll speak of Pinaka. Because why? This is a weapon system which is underrated and has gone under the radar. And today, I'll explain the philosophy behind my thought process of explaining Pinaka to you and how important Pinaka is to our system. And people don't understand it. Everyone measures it in terms of range. That's not the way to look at it. Okay, I call it a midfielder, top midfielder. What does a midfielder do? The midfielder attacks when required. He's with the attack, with the attackers, right? And if that doesn't working, he's back with the defenders. He's making the play. He controls the midfield. And ask any footballer, ask any hockey guy. He says, look, you control the midfield, you control the game. Okay? That's the thing. Who are the top midfielders? Why I'm saying this? I'm trying to prove a point through sport. The thinking has to be dynamic. Top midfielders, who are the guys on the top, from the top right, Socrates, come down, Diego Maradona, come further down, Zico, to the left, Ruud Gullit, Zinedine Zidane, Michel Platini. These are the top midfielders the world has seen and more. I mean, there are Bobby Charlton and Iniesta and, all those. I mean, I can keep going. Luka Modric. So I can keep going, but I wanted to prove a point. It's the midfielders who make the game, who make the play, who make the difference between success and failure. And these chaps are all successful midfielders. And in Pinaka, we have this midfielder. Not many countries have it. Let me also tell you. Not many countries have it. And I'll explain to you how this Pinaka can function as a midfielder with a little more imagination. Look, this is Pinaka. Okay. As you can see it's got 12 pods. To give some specifications, it can fire 12 210 mm rockets. So what is 210 mm? Very, very, very lethal ammunition. Okay, it gives you the capability of putting submunitions. It gives you you can put 3 or 4 multiple warheads into it and all that. So it gives you that flexibility. It's got space. 210 millimeters is space. Okay, and it's a long rocket, so you have space to put what you want. You can do guided systems. Yeah, all that. Lot goes in. It's lightweight. It's highly mobile. It's a 8x8 Tatra chassis or equivalent. You can put it on our Ashok Leyland 8x8. 8x8 is something today which runs on all your highways. 8-wheelers. Okay, it's not a 12 or 14, like you go to BrahMos, you need a 12-wheeler. Right? Because it's big. The article is big. Here it's not so. It's all contained. You can fire 12 at a go. I'll show you how. Heavy volume of fire. You can fire 12 rockets in 44 seconds from one. Just think a battery of 6 means 72 rockets in 44 seconds. And if it's regiment firing 18 into 12, you, the volume of fire is devastating. Heavy volume, low cost because it's ours and it's easy on logistics. Okay, that's what does it mean? What does this business of midfielder? That's what it is. See, th- look at the firing. This is a very steady weapon system. I'll show you the firing in this, and understand. And you can count in this how many. This is just about three rockets. In how many seconds they're all fired, and you find that later on. I'll show you another clip where the rocket comes out very steady in this. That's the beauty of this rocket. Okay, this is only three rounds. Okay, but more importantly is this: with Mark One, the first version of Pinaka had just 37 kilometers of range. The Mark Two had 55 kilometers of range. The Mark Three, not I made a mistake. It's the Mark Three, which is today, which is being spoken of 80 to 120 kilometers. It's actually now people are talking. It's about 90, but it has the capacity to go up to 120. I'll explain this. It's a guided rocket. So even now you have three varieties of rockets. It gives you flexibility. But let me go back into history. Did it happen overnight? No, it didn't. I go back way back. I have a long association with this Pinaka. This was way back in 1988. As a young major, I was posted in a project Prithvi and Pinaka. I was in Prithvi, another friend of mine was in Pinaka. We used to exchange notes, references, AWO, all that. Prithvi took off in IGMDP. This lagged. At that time, we were looking at a system which would give us about 45 kilometers of range. We were looking at a Russian variant. At that time, it was I think BM11 or something like that, which had a range of 45 kilometers. Somehow that didn't catch anyone's imagination, and we couldn't do, and it lagged and all that. We didn't have the technology. It was just an imaginative start with no real fundamentals. The ARD made something, it didn't progress. Prithvi took off. Prithvi was completely indigenous. We had the logic behind it. Dr. Abdul Kalam was very good. So he made Prithvi a success, and Pinaka lagged. At that time, it was not even called Pinaka. I mean, it was called Pinaka, but not in the way we. Pinaka lagged. It lagged. 88 to 2000, it lagged. Nothing was happening. Around 2000, it was realized that look, we can make the rocket. But then what about the ground support systems? We had no this thing. So that was when people talk of Atmanirbharta very glibly today. At that time, people said, let's go and start privatizing. Okay. So 2000, around 2000, it was decided that we should go in for a private sector. But the private sector at that time was not too keen to get involved. But still, we chose L&T and Tatas, both as partners. So we got them involved in the ground support systems, the launcher, and all the hardware. The rockets and missiles were still being. Basically, it was a rocket. The rocket was being designed and developed by ARD, DRDO, and it was being made in ordnance factories because it was that point of time only OFB had the capability of making weapons like this. Now it's different. So a special unit was made for Pinaka. Okay, in OFP. Well, things moved. Why and this was in 2000. We started testing, and then we realized, look, this has a range of about uh, 37 kilometers. That's Mark 1. So let's induct it. 2007-8 got inducted into the army. It was only given to the artillery divisions. At that time, we had only two regiments. I still remember when I took out the artillery division, the first regiment, they said, look, we've never fired this regiment. We fired. And I did a fire and move. I still remember. Our men were so good, they just took to this equipment like duck like water. Duck takes to water. That's the right way of putting it. Absolutely, they could do all kinds of maneuvers within a matter of 10-15 days. I found, and I fired this extensively around that time. I found it a very good weapon system. I found it, I fired it with guns, I fired it with others, everything mixed, alone, super. I said, look, this is something which we have to take forward. Great, really great. And then the first two regiments were inducted. And then after a long time more, two regiments were inducted. Now these two regiments, one was made by L&T, one was made by Tatas. The ammunition was made by OFP. Actually speaking, both these launcher systems are completely different, but it didn't matter. Go ahead with the whole story. Enable private sector involvement. We came up. Then got inducted, the regiment got stabilized, the order for the second regiment, that is at that time around 2011-12, we were looking at 4 regiments, got through. Then something funny happened, right? I wouldn't say something funny, something very significant it was. The ARD came up with the case bonded propellant. When the case bonded propellant came up, it was a different propellant. It was a different engineering of the propellant. It was the same propellant, but built, the range increased to 55 kilometers. So I still remember the director of ARD at that time, and I had just taken over as the DGRT. He came to me and said, "Sir, this." I said, "Yeah, I want to see this firing." So we went to see this firing at Pokhran. Beautiful firing. It had a problem. Problem was the no accuracy. It would land 1.5 kilometers away from the target. I said, no, that can't be done. We have to fire accurately. So what? So we went to RCI, went to Dr. Satish Reddy. He was then the director of RCI. I said, look, we need this guidance. You're the guys who do. I had an association with RCI because of Prithvi, because my exposure in Prithvi. And that was a time when RCI was just coming when I was there. But now, of course, RCI is a huge complex. Go to Hyderabad, you find it. So I said, give any guidance to this. I don't mind. I want some guidance which gets this rocket on to the target, anywhere near the target. He said, sir, capital idea. We have the capability. You have the ARD has already got a rocket. We'll go ahead with it. So then what happens? We started the development. Every month I used to go and sit in Hyderabad and take progress report, and it developed very fast. Within 1 year, mind you, within 1 year, we actually fired a Pinaka with guidance. And it achieved a range of about 70 kilometers. We fired it in Odisha, Balasore, and accurate, pinpoint accuracy. We were also surprised that how would all this happen. I'm not going into details, but yeah. And then, of course, the whole story took forward. I'm now going back to 2017. That was when the first firing took place. It had just, the firing started, the firing was done about 2 months after I retired. I went specially for it after retirement to see the firing. Beautiful. Then we had not even got a project for it. There was no proof, no trials, nothing. Then the whole thing started. The project was sanctioned after the firing was done. Then, of course, we had to do a lot of things. Then this was fired. There were problems in it. Some problems came up. They had to come. But all those got resolved. Then they took it to high altitude. It performed well in high altitude. And as we kept firing, the range kept increasing. The range didn't increase because of anything special. Algorithms, software. You keep doing tests, you keep testing it, you keep put it through hardware and loop test. You know the stress the rocket can face, undertake everything, and the range kept increasing. You're doing nothing. That's out of reiteration. 1 minute. Hold. Okay. So we had to reiterate and do things and everything, and then the range has now increased to 90 kilometers. With the current way of doing things, it has capability of going up to 120 kilometers, but it's going to take time because it has to be on repeated firing, getting the stress levels, checking whether the rocket can take the stress of maneuver. Because it's like a missile. You call it a guided rocket. A guided rocket and missile is the same thing, right? So now you have the capability of this rocket firing at three different ranges. It can fire at 37 kilometers, it can fire at 56 kilometers, and it can fire at 80 to 120 kilometers. Mind you, all these three are different rockets, they're not the same. So the equipment has become versatile. In the process, we also increased the number of regiments. Today, I think there are about 10 regiments, and we are slowly going to go up to 22. That's the plan, and that's out in the open. I'm not saying anything new. And I think more will come in. We need more. We need more. Okay, that's why I call it. That's why I said this is a midfielder. Very important. Okay, what next? Now I'm going to explain to you what this midfield concept in battle is. Unless you understand this concept of midfielder, you will not understand the value of Pinaka. No one will. Okay. So let's understand that first. Look, in battle, as you see, tube artillery and rockets and drones today, they are 60 to 70% of your armory and your inventory. Rockets, missiles, aircraft, drones, which are could be a combination of manned and unmanned, another 15 to 20%. I'll explain to you what this 15 to 20% is. And another set of missiles, aircraft, and drones which can go deep, another 15 to 20%. Approximate, this is how a mix is. Okay, now here you start from the tactical depth and go up to the strategic depth. You maximum number of targets are here in the tactical depth in battle. Some will be in the the operational depth, and few will be in the strategic depth. In terms of range, this up to 40 kilometers is tube artillery, 40 to 200 kilometers is the midfield. This is where the midfield concept comes in. And here is the deep strike. So in battle, normally, when you look into normal battle, you have to control this and this. And of course, you have to control all three, but the bulk engagements take place. If you look at it, the target and ammunition mix, it keeps going down, narrower, narrower, narrower. You need maximum flexibility here. And, here you have to zone on high accuracy, minimum collateral damage and all. But here it's the other way around. So if you see this, you need something here. Now, where does no, let's look at where does Pinaka fit in? Okay, I'll come to that a little later. Okay, this is the middle. I'll explain to you a little later where does Pinaka fit in and all that. Okay, now the point is this. You know, much of my ideas I got from this system which you see here. What is this system? This is the ATACMS, ATACMS of USA. Now that can fire a 300 rocket, right? Look at this. This is a guided rocket with the fins or 80 millimeter rocket. Yeah, yeah. Which is otherwise we know as HIMARS, High Mobility Artillery Rocket System. The HIMARS has got two varieties of ammunition. That's why it's very flexible. That is why the Ukrainians wanted it. And that is why it was used extensively in the Russia-Ukraine war. And the Americans were initially very chary of giving it. They've still not given the 300-kilometer range. So they've got one ammunition which fires 50 miles, that's 80 kilometers, another which has a range of 300 kilometers. This is the one with the 300 kilometers. If you see, it's a guided rocket. Okay, right. See, this is a 300-kilometer version which has a right. I then, actually, this was the one which prompted me to say I need a guided rocket. But 120 kilometers is less. You need more. You need more. And you need a platform which you can cover the entire battlefield with variants. In fact, I call this the Pinaka model. What is the Pinaka model? You exploit technology in this model and get 5 systems. The first 3 we already realized. Up to 120 kilometers guided. I say it's 120 kilometers guided, though it's only 90 kilometers which has been tested and established so far. I suppose in a year or 2 or maybe 3, they'll go up to 120 kilometers. Because like I said, it's an iterative testing which is required to be done. But you want to jump to this 200, 250 kilometer mark, you need ramjet. But you need high speed, you need a hypersonic scramjet. But when you put a hypersonic scramjet on this missile or this rocket, 210 millimeters, it's only 210 millimeters, the range will reduce. That's for different reasons, because the construct of the hypersonic system sucks away the range capability. The cost if you convert this into hypersonic. But what happens if you put it to hypersonic? You'll at 150 kilometers, you get hypersonic speeds. You can't catch this missile. As it is, you can't catch this rocket because its radar cross section is small. 210 is very small, and volume of fire is so high that you can't intercept it. That's the beauty of this missile. Okay. Now let me get back to this. We got back to that firepower mix and we talk of the midfield concept. Look at this. Yeah. When you use the Mach 1, right? That is Mach 1 and Mach 2 with about 50 kilometers range. You use it in this zone. So you're defending tactical targets. So you are back. Like a midfielder who's now fallen back to defend the system. Right? Then the current one, which gives you 80 to 120 kilometers, which is guided, gives you the midfield. You control the midfield with this. And how you control the midfield, I'll tell you. And then when you get this ramjet thing with 250 kilometers, then you are in the attack mode in depth. Of course, it is with others. It's not. So you will have a system which can play the defending role, the midfield role, control the midfield, and you can attack. That's and all over one chassis and tremendous flexibility. And when this happens, I don't think any other country will have this. Because that's the way we've evolved. Okay. And of course, you get the hypersonic scramjet put in. You have to look, for these two are aspirational. The ramjet Pinaka and the hypersonic scramjet Pinaka are aspirational. But if you start thinking today, maybe in about 6-7 years, you'll have both. You don't start thinking today, nothing. Zero. And I've started thinking. I hope anyone who sees this also starts thinking. That's the whole idea. Okay. Now, you might say, look, all this is big talk, all that. How does it fire? I just showed you 3-4 rockets firing. Here in this clip, which I got off the net, you'll see various facets of the Pinaka firing, and I'll explain to you as we go along what the whole thing is. Okay, look, this is one single rocket. Just see how steady, the different the rocket is. Look at it in slow motion. The beauty of this rocket is it is absolutely steady. I fired enough. हमारे तो कान पक गए हैं और दिमाग पक गया इसको फायर कर. इसको देखो कितना स्टडी जाता है. The moment the rocket is steady in flight, what does it give you? What does it tell you? It tells you that you can control it better. If the rocket is completely unstable, I mean, look, for basic guidance and control, you need an unstable rocket. Only then you can control. But around that instability, also, you need a fundamental steadiness. Okay? Look at it. Look at this chap, how like arrow he goes. And at the target end, it comes very concentrated. When you fire 4-5 pinakas. And I fired enough. I fired a whole batch. In fact, I fired my whole regiment. Right? People were hesitant, but I made them fire. And it gives a pep to everyone. Okay, all this is single round firing, right? Now we come to that stage where we're gonna see a volley, a battery firing. But of course, in this, there's only one round because it's costly to fire more, right? You can't afford it. Then right. And this is the yeah. Now let's see 1 minute, maybe even lesser. See, look at that. Look at that. Just think how they're firing. This is the same firing shown from different angles. This is a Chinese trick, incidentally. See how they're firing. Okay. Just see how they're going. There's just one battery, and then they scoot. And before the rounds fall on the target, they're out. That's the beauty of Pinaka. I'll show it again. Have a look at this. See, they will fire a salvo. This is a salvo firing taken from different angles, right? And then after the salvo firing, they scoot before the rounds fall on the target. They're out of that area. They can scoot out. That's the speed at which you go and fire a Pinaka. So what happens is you prepare the area, you go, park, fire, and out. Shoot and scoot at its best. And you have this capability, like I said, you develop the other two capabilities today, then you can cover the entire spectrum of the battlefield. Okay, this is a high altitude firing, again, which I picked off the net. Have a look at how steady this firing is. And this is probably the one which they fired in Leh, because this is right. And what I came to know is that just see how beautifully and steadily this rocket is going in high altitude. We talk of Chinese pioneers and all. Well, dekho yaar. I'm sure, I hope the Chinese see this. This is what is getting them. I hope the Pakis see it. Pakis ka साथ तो एक killer है ये. See how it's going. You can still make out absolutely steady. Right? Okay. Next. Yeah, there's another angle of that firing.
3, 2, 1,
See that. Okay. And in the end, they'll show you in this clip, you see where it falls also, the impact point. Just 1 minute. See this. Okay. See that. See that impact. So deadly. Rocks bursting all over the countryside. So this is a very deadly weapon. It's been proven now today in altitude. It's proven in deserts. The desert it got proven long back. Okay. Now France has eyed it. France wants it. I showed it to you in the beginning. Right. Now let me go a little tactical to explain to you the midfield and the depth concept. Because I take it in the India-China concept, construct. Tibet. See, the roads which come into Tibet, this is the central highway which comes to Lhasa, Zining Lhasa. This is the spine on which the what's that? The railway track also comes. Right? This is the western thing which goes along across the Demchok and all this Demchok area, Aksai and goes into Kashgar, Hotan. And then there's the eastern highway which comes from Sichuan and comes up to Lhasa. It comes along our eastern command completely, the eastern frontier. But there are other and connectors to all this. Now, right? This is the road, broadly the road network in Tibet. Now, this is the Kunlun Mountains. This is the Kunlun Mountains. This is the Tian Shan Mountains. This area is Xinjiang, and this area is Tibet. Okay. Now, and this, of course, is the Himalayas, right? Now, this is the Himalayas, and here, this little dot which came, I'll go back and see, have a look. This, right, is the LC. Now, along the LC, what do you need? You need tactical control. To control this line, you need midfield control. That some places this road is as close as 30 kilometers. Some places about 70 kilometers. Some places 80 kilometers. So you put Pinakas there, you'll be able to control this road. You can take Pinakas up forward. And if you get the 250 kilometers thing, you are able to start hitting this area in depth. And this is where he has to come into Aksai or up to here, Lhasa. Because what happens in altitude, you get extra range. That are not factored in so far. So this Pinaka becomes a deadly midfielder. You want to strike deep, you can. You want to strike close, you can. You want to strike in the midfield, you can. Tactical, operational, and strategic depth in the battlefield. All from one platform. So the operational commander, the div commander or the core commander has the capability of doing what he wants from one platform deployed front. The enemy doesn't know what's going to hit him. And this is here. Just think of Pakistan. Pakistan, you cross the Indus line beautifully. So that's the thing. So with these ranges, you can control virtually the entire thing. You get high volume of fire, it's cheap, all that. Right. Now, this is the existing Pinaka, which is the guided rocket. Okay. In this, if you change this the modified to the propulsion system needs to be modified into a ramjet, then you get a range of up to 200 to 225 kilometers. It will go up to 250 eventually. But that is something which you have to start. If you start the thinking today, thinking is there. You start the whole project today, in about 4-5 years, you'll realize it. Realize it, we will. Okay. Right. This is, of course, the Pinaka which was paraded. I still remember when the first time Pinaka was paraded on the Republic Day, I was the DGRT. I felt so happy. We have to understand, today is a battle of rockets and missiles. It's a rise of rockets. Rockets are being used as a geopolitical tool of coercion by China and North Korea. We've seen rockets and missiles in conventional role in Ukraine. Even in Taiwan, right? By China firing. When Nancy Pelosi came, they fired 11 missiles. And then Iran-Israel war. Various. Now, the rockets and missiles have come to dominate. They provide an effective alternate to the Air Force. Then we have seen Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas. They've used it as these non-state actors have used it as a tool of power. And now, Op Sindoor, we saw it as a conventional precision strikes to ensure that Pakistan waves a white flag. That is why whenever I talk of rockets, in my thumbnail you'll see a Pakistani running away from the Pinaka or the Brahmos or whatever. Right? That's how it is. And then look at it. What's the advantages you get out of rockets and missiles? Nothing new, but I'm going to reiterate it. You have enhanced ranges. They are outpacing tube artillery and aircraft. Why? You can't fly an aircraft over Pakistan, but you can shoot a Pinaka across. There's no defense against a Pinaka. If that volume of fire is coming, there's no ID system which can intercept it. Anyway, you can't detect it at that speed. You combine with the drones and AI, and then of course you threaten in every corner of the battlefield. Other day, our defense minister said, we will now cover every corner of the battlefield with BrahMos. Yes, of course. But you add these others, which indigenous options we have. And we're not now talking of strategic systems. We're just talking of conventional warfare. You're in a different ball game. You can generate strategic maneuver. You enable non-contact warfare. And escalatory controls are kept down. I mean, my view, we should have used it in Balakot. Balakot, you didn't have to fire. We don't have to fire. We didn't have to send aircraft. We could have just fired Pinakas. Just 60 kilometers from the LC. Right? It's cheaper. It's not complicated. You don't have great systems. You flexible. It's very light on training. You train a set of people on one rocket, everything else is through. For him, it's only another variant of ammunition. And hypersonics. The day you get hypersonic in the battle, at the tactical level, see how things change. There are more. You can use, dual use space technologies for mass production. I mean, the process could be crude, sophisticated later. Then, when you employ rockets, see the visual impact and propaganda value. Every time a Pakistani today talks of anything, we show him a photograph. And you get precision over longer ranges. I mean, I'm not saying anything new which we have not done. Most importantly, these are all battle tested. They have better survivability against air defenses. The rockets and the systems, launch systems. If, just think, in Ops Indore, if you had used the mix of ground-based systems and air launch systems, we would have defeated Pakistan hands down. And that is where, I wouldn't say call it hindsight, but if we've erred in Ops Indore, these are the few things which we have erred. Maybe we'll learn by experience next time because there's always room to improve. If you had theaterized and the theater commander had all these options, he would have said, okay, I'll use a mix of ground and air. This business of, knocking an odd Rafale down and all won't have come. That's the important thing. And you can use it in conventional and nuclear if you want. You want to go put a nuclear warhead on this, there's no problem. Like the Pakistanis have put a nuclear warhead on Nasser. Nasser is just a small variant of, their variant of Pinaka. But it is a single 60 kilometers. They have not gone further. They don't have the capability at this point of time. Maybe they will. Who knows? If they will, we should expand more. We have the volume, we have the capability, industrial capability, technological capability to do everything on our own. That bloody Nasser is a crude stop. But there are other things which we need to do. People talk of rocket force, A force, O force. I feel we need to do Recce strike integration. Unless you do Recce strike integration very consciously, and if you have to do Recce strike integration, you have to theaterize. If you have to theaterize, this business of what Air Force is now talking and all, we have to change. No, you need precision ammunitions if you have to do Reiki strike, engagements or Reiki strike integration. So you have to develop your own capability to do precision, which means fundamentally making gyroscopes. You need advanced sensors which have a wide coverage. You need an automated command and control system. People talk very loosely about all this. The discussion is very loose in many quarters. I have different ideas. I do discuss with people, but we need all this. I've discussed with Sandeep Punithan in a few shows, right? Maybe one of these days again I'll talk to him about theaterization, this, that, and all that. Because unless we talk and debate, I don't mind people talking against me, or rather, not supporting my thought process. That's okay. That's part of the debate. But we need to have more, right? So this is where I'll stop for the day. I do hope you people have liked this video. If you like this video, press the thumbs up button. Uh, Subscribe to Ghana Shot. Please press that bell icon, right? And share this video with your friends. I thought this is an important video. I was very happy with the kind of response I've got with the thing which I did on BrahMos 800. I do hope I've opened another facet of what we have done or capable of doing with this. We have tremendous capability. We just have to put it together. And little later, I'm going to put, yesterday when I was doing this thing with Shreya, there was a question on BrahMos. There was a question on BrahMos. A very interesting question. And I gave a very elaborate answer. Many of you would have missed it. So I'm going to put that video out. I've taken that out and I'm going to put that video out in about an hour. Have a look at it. And I'm going to go along this route slowly with a lot of our weapon systems. As you see, as you hear, these are getting inducted. Yeah, what does it give us? And what do we have to do further to make things happen better? Right? Okay. And of course, we'll talk of more things which are happening and all that. Right? With this, I'll take on questions now. And I'm glad that so many of you have joined. I need more of you to join in. Okay, anyway, let's take some questions. First, SRK, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining. And of course, thanks a lot to Kiran. We'll support you however we can. So honored, so grateful to all of you for having support, for supporting this channel. What I'm going to get out of all this, I'll make my own studio. In fact, I'm converting one of my small room which I had into a studio. So a proper studio setting. Right now it's all ad hoc. And maybe if I have a studio setting, we can give live, podcasts to you on a one-to-one basis. But that's going ahead. Right. Salute, sir. 400 watching live. My question is, what is Bhairav Battalion? I'm not sure. Let me be very honest. Though the chief has said that he'll have Bhairav battalions and all that, many other things he said, Gandhi and things like that. One of these days, I'll get someone and we'll discuss this. It's a very interesting thing. We'll discuss this. Or I'll do some research on it and get back to you. Okay. Yeah, there was talk of mounting Pinaka on jets to make it AGM variants. If yes, it would replace the Israeli variants we have currently equipped. Thought, sir. We can do that. The way I look at it, I think we can use it not only for jets. I think we can use it even for coastal defense. I think we can use it also on ships. That's the way I look at it. Of course, at this point of time, to use it on a ship, we don't have terminal guidance. To use it on a ship, you need terminal guidance. But that hypersonic thing, if you have, you can use it still without. That's ahead. The army is quite clear. This suits the army thing because it started as an army project. Well, how you adapt it to the Navy and the Air Force is something the Navy has to think of. I don't think they've come to that. Hopefully, after seeing all this, they will. Right. How do I reach out to you regarding research internship opportunities under your guidance and mentorship? Oh, well, look, okay, write what you want to do with your background and all. Give me an email. That email is available on Ganashot. Do that. Yeah, Balascote airstrikes would send across a message. I agree with you. With BrahMos 800, we can cover Gwadar also, string of pearls on target. I showed you all that yesterday. There's no doubt. Yeah, heartening to know we are well on our way. Thoroughly enjoyed the talk. Thanks a lot. Uh, are we using mechanical gyroscopes? Are we with silicon-based gyroscopes? This is a weakness as of now. We don't have the capability to make gyroscopes. In fact, I'm looking for a project where we can make hemispherical resonance gyroscopes. Let's see. We have to make it on our own. Okay. Tell about PLA rocket launchers 40 to 500 kilometers, how effective they are in Himalayas against us. We don't know. But I'll make an assessment of what a PLA has one of these days. We don't know because we've never seen them firing, they've never used it. Did we use Pinaka and Opsindhu? No, we didn't. We didn't. One battery of Pinaka 12-hour fired. How long do we have to wait for the barrels to cool down and reload the barrels for the next barrage? Yeah, there's no barrel cooling in this. Barrels don't cool. You fire, get out. You get out and reload and come. You reload the missile. And the whole time turnaround, and that's the thing with rockets. When you fire rockets, right? I mean, when you look at one battery of 12 Pinakas, firstly, a battery is 6 launchers, and each Pinaka can fire 12 rockets. So if you are firing all 72 in one go, you have to pull out from that area, travel to your hide, and reload in the hide, and then get to the next position. It can't be in the same position. It has to be in a different. So there's a travel time involved, there's a reload time involved, and again travel to the next, right? And then you have to be in time to, all these such engagements are time based, time critical. You need to have int of the target, and then you have to punish it in one go and get out. So it's a complicated operation. So it's not a matter of how the whole cycle would take up to 6 hours because travel time is involved. We don't know. It could be 12 hours depending on the travel time. But in actual tactical battle, 3 to 4 hours turnaround time is good enough. In many places, you wouldn't like to fire all 12. A target might just require 3 rockets each from each launcher. So 3 into 6, 18 rockets on the target. Get out of that, go to the next thing and fire another. So from the same, with a load of 12, with a load of just 12, you can engage multiple targets. The other way of doing it is fire them independently. The good thing about Pinaka is you can fire them independently. Each rocket, each launcher is a fire unit of its own. So you have 6 in a battery, you can engage 6 targets separately. That capability we have. So that's why they're very flexible. Fantastic control you get out of this. Yeah, simply, thanks a lot, Kiran, for your thing. Love the war gaming against Tibet and Chinese territory. Right. Was worried you'd show the Napaks, which are the point of time side days. Yeah, they'll happen. We'll handle them also. With them, with even 90 kilometers today, you cross all their depth targets, mainly. Right? You cross the Indus line basically everywhere. How do you view BDL, HAL, and other undertakings being listed on the targets? They should be. Only then they'll get accountability. Only then they'll get accountability. How much Pinaka launches M1, M2, M3 are effective at Himalayans from Ladakh to? They're all effective, don't worry. Yeah, great episode. Thank you. How does India ensure private defense companies don't influence foreign policies as we are seeing happen in the West in future? No, that state won't reach because our culture is different. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Smriti Ranjan, for confirming what you said. Pinaka lives up to its name, Shiv Dhanush, both. Shiv. Yeah, I agree with you. Why didn't we use Pinaka in Opsindur? That is operational. I don't know. That someone who's taken a decision has taken it. Which truck mounted Bharat will choose for plains and mountains of Himalaya? Which truck mounted? Again, at this point of time, what they're doing, look, certain things I don't get involved with. I don't talk of it also. And this is one of them. Which they'll use, how they'll use. How they'll use, I'll tell you. Once they've chosen and it is inducted. But what they should do, I will not tell. What they should do broadly, conceptually as a policy, I will tell. Technology, EAO. But specific which truck mounted and all, I will not talk. I was eagerly waiting to hear on Pinaka from you on Gunner Shot. Major Gaurav Arya had spoken. Gaurav Arya doesn't know anything about Pinaka. Yet. Look, I'm not saying Gaurav Arya is bad. He's a good chap. He's a damn good guy. But his knowledge of Pinaka and all will be limited after all. Yeah. Otherwise, he's a very good guy. He's an outstanding chap. There's no doubt. But the pride in your face for Pinaka and frankly well placed. The middle system is superb and deadly. Yeah. Mm. Can Pinaka be fitted with cluster ammunition? It can be, yes. Yeah. Can't Pinaka range increase slightly? I've shown you. It can go up to 250 kilometers. How do you think NAVIC should be augmented? GPS like moving satellites? I'll talk of this separately, Akshar, because this is a completely different topic. I need to get someone who's involved in NAVIC and we'll talk about that. Sir, you seem to be a big time football soccer fan. I'm also a cricket fan. I'm a sports fan. Why haven't we increased our Pinaka launchers number equal to PLA GF rocket? Look, everything happens slowly first. And secondly, you assess how many you want based on your requirements. The PLA will have their requirements based on their threat, which they have to, and what their operational thinking is. See, PLA has China, you have to understand, will always have large numbers because it has got borders with 14 countries. At the end of the day, that border might be, stable, but they have to cater for the defense of that border. They have tasks along the coast which we don't have. There's no coastal threat to us. For them, the coast is the primary threat. The Taiwan, Philippines, all that. India has only one border for them. They have problems on the Russian border. Till, in that Khrushchev era and Mao era, they were firing across the Amur, what's that? Yeah, not Amur. I'm forgetting that river, which is bordering Russia and China. So they have problems there. So they will have more rockets. They have no choice. And then they have different ambitions. That's what. Okay. There are rumors of assassination of PM Modi. All this is nonsense. Yes, don't come to Gunner Shot if you're going to go on these rumors. We'll talk based on facts, and that's what I do. Who secures Battery if launcher is targeted by enemy, we do it. Who will do it? No one will come from outside. In most of these places, this deployment, you have your own AD and all that for close support. Then you go move under general AD umbrella. And at the end of the day, if that guy fires at you, you either scoot out or you withstand that fire and fire back. By battle hai, you're talking to gunner yaar, battle hai, ladenge. Why don't we design longer range Pinaka? We're doing it, Aryan Raj. That's the whole idea. That's the whole story. Yeah. Pranam sir, please make a video on Indian force recent ranking. Very much interested in this. Look, let me tell you something. This ranking, fanking and all has no value. Ranking लेके क्या करोगे? Ranking लेके मन बहलाओगे. Be very happy. I am number one rank. Like China. China is ranked number one everywhere. It ranks itself number one everywhere. But it has lost all its battles there. So ranking doesn't matter. Look at Indian Army. Everyone thinks Indian Army and Indian Armed Forces are useless. But you've not lost a battle after 1962. Okay. So that's how I look at it. Okay. What do you think of quantum willow chip by Google? I really have no idea fully about it. Let me read about it now that you asked. Thank you so much. Time to analyze day in, day out. You have been, yeah. People do ask me, why do I waste my time doing all this? I'm not wasting my time. My country should know how good it is. All of you are my country. All of you should know how good our armed forces are. You should know, you should have confidence in our people who are fighting. That's why it takes time. We should know how good our country is and how we are rising. I can criticize my country. There's so many things which are wrong in our country. I have no doubt about it. There's corruption, there's casteism, there is polarism, and all that. I can talk so many bad things about my country. But will it make my country better? Will it make the hardworking Indian better? The hardworking Indian is what I'm looking at. That Aam Aadmi, the common man of R.K. Lakshman times. I've been a common man in an uncommon profession. That's okay. But I work for the nation. I never bothered at that time whether India was developed, Ayodhya happened, right? Let me tell you, when Ayodhya happened and I got stuck in a place and I had to sleep on a railway platform. I was a major on a railway platform for 3 days with no food, no water. I never questioned it. Yeah. My country, whatever happens, country should go ahead. That's the whole idea. Yeah, Ganas, the king of battle. Glad to hear from you about rocket artillery. Thanks a lot. Only artillery officers know about artillery guns. Naturally, Mera, you're in Raiwala, the gunner brigade. I've been last to Raiwala was in 2015. After that, never had a chance to go there. Yeah, only artillery officer know about Pinaka. Yeah, great session. Thanks a lot. North Korea's whole defense lies on MBRLs. All are set towards South Korea and Seoul. Yeah. Am I correct to say that BDL is losing its relevance? No. It's fully in the game. BDL has evolved. I've seen BDL come from just 2 shades to what it is today. It's a very important part of our system. Yeah, what about smart system? Are they worth? My own opinion, no. Let me elucidate. There was a point of time when we wanted more smudge because at that time we didn't have other systems in play. But over a period of time with this Pinaka, when the Pinaka guided, this is one of the last things I did. One of the last things I did was we got Pinaka guided. It's got about, at that time, we had fired at about 60, 70 kilometers. So slowly it will expand its range. So when you expand its range, you don't need smudge because smudge you can't fire more than 90, 100 kilometers. Okay. Now, why should you import it from Russia? When this was in reach, you have what smudge you have, you use it. There's no harm. You have smudge. You have the capability even today. But why do you need more? So people saw my thinking and we stopped that. We stopped. In fact, after that, we stopped the whole story of smudge altogether. Either ammunition or there were a lot of opposition to me. But then now I'm glad I stood my ground and now we have Pinaka. 90 kilometers है, we'll go more. उसमें क्या है? Is India's upgrades to the BrahMos shared with Russia? Of course, it's a joint production. Any progress in quantum computing for defense will take time. Love your mustache. You're doing a fabulous job educating us. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Malika, thanks a lot coming back. Signature style. Thank you. I am listening to the driving force behind this project. This is just unbelievable. Oh, we have more. Look, I'm only telling you what I know, what I have done. I've done very little. This is what I've done in my lifetime. It's a very fulfilling thing. That's why I can drink coffee in the morning and talk to all of you with a smile. I've had the great fortune of being with Dr. Abdul Kalam and V.K. Saraswat and General Sundaram. He's a doyen. He's about 92 plus now. He's still in Bangalore. Everything. And we got Prithvi in various marks of Prithvi, Agni, Pinaka. The gun systems have changed completely. I still remember Manohar Parikar asked me, he says, look, 2014 he asked me, he says, since 1984, that was 2014, 30 years, we've not had a single gun system in our country. What will you ensure? I said, I'll ensure 4 gun systems. I underplayed. I told him a little less. Now this is in 2014. By the time I retired in 2016, there were 6 gun systems en route at various stages. Today, 2025, all 6 gun systems have entered service. I've ensured Pinaka has entered service. I've ensured even Smirch has entered service. It's not a bad system. BrahMos, I am very happy. And I'm still contributing to my system, my country, through IIT. Okay. I think we've answered all the questions generally. What we'll do is in the evening get together. Can we have tactical nukes on AI-enabled drones? Well, you can. That's a dangerous thing to do, but it's a very dangerous thing to do. Very dangerous. Okay. And maybe one of these days I will explain to you. Okay, so today evening we're going to China on this 3 Good General show. Join me in then at that point of time. We're going to get Rajiv and Dushyant and Self. We're going to talk about China and what's happening there. And, this. Like I said yesterday, sounds of silence. That's the thing. And thanks a lot Kev War, Kevwar 2676 for your 5 gunner shot memberships which you've gifted. And for those people who have been gifted these memberships, please continue with it. So, what's your question, Amitesh? Let me ask you. Let me see. So, should we thank the Chinese? Is that your question? I don't know what your question is. I'm not. I'm trying to see. Hey, you asked it again. They, if you typed it, fine. Otherwise, I'll answer it next time. Yeah. Thanks a lot, and enjoy yourself. Have a great day. We'll meet in the evening, 8 o'clock, and we'll talk about China and their ongoing fourth plenum. With this, thank you. Have a great day and enjoy to all of you.